Hello, everybody. Welcome to ARC PDX. I'm Wesley Ogle, and ARC PDX is on the road this morning. We are here at Tigard City Hall. ARC, as you may know by now, stands for Authentic, Relevant Community. So we've been going on the road to your communities to dig into the stories that are authentic and relevant to you. So we're here at Tigard City Hall this morning to highlight some of the key issues impacting public safety in the City of Tigard and also the larger community of Washington County. We're going to be digging into the county's public safety levy, which will be on ballots in less than 2 weeks. We're also tracking the City of Tigard's efforts to build a new police and public works facility with a bond on the May ballot. We have a long list of guests to talk about these issues, including the county's district attorney, the sheriff, and a county commissioner, as well as Tigard's police chief and brand new mayor. So let's start with Washington County's public safety levy, which will be on the November ballot. So this is a 19-cent increase per $1,000 of property value. If this passes, the owner of a home with an assessed value of $348,600 would pay about $19 a month or $230 a year. It would continue for 5 years and it would raise $337 million. And here are some of the things that the levy would pay for: investigating and prosecuting crimes like theft, break-ins, and graffiti, enhancing prosecution of child abuse and pornography cases, expanded programs for victims and families harmed by domestic violence, mental health response teams to help stabilize volatile situations and help people access care, and also to fund the county jail. Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton was not able to join us live for our show today, but I was able to speak with him yesterday over Zoom. So here is part of that conversation. I'm joined by Kevin Barton, Washington County District Attorney now. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so from your perspective, what are the most critical parts of this levy?
Well, the levy is something that we've had in Washington County for 25 years now. So the idea of a levy is nothing new, but every 5 years we need to go back to the voters and make sure that they approve the way we're spending this money. This year, we're increasing the levy amount to let us address the growing challenges that we have in our community. And it's going to address some really important things. So, for example, quality of life crimes, the day-to-day crimes that impact the most people, things like theft and car break-ins and car theft and vandalism, child abuse crimes, addressing the growing nature of those crimes that we're seeing here in our community, supporting domestic violence victims, addressing mental health issues that we see in our community. Those are the really important things the levy will help us do so we can make sure that we keep our Washington County community a safe place for people to live and work.
And you say the levy is nothing new, but there is an increase. Should residents just be expected to approve increases year after year after year? Why is this needed now so badly, just to keep their community safe?
I think any good resident should question, why is there an increase? And if you look around, and I question those things myself, I'm a resident, I pay the very same taxes. If you look around and you see what's happening in our community, I think we would all agree that we're seeing an increase in the challenges around us, an increase in homelessness, an increase in drug addiction, an increase in mental health issues. If you watch the news at night, you see this every single night. We're struggling in our public safety system to address the impact of those increases. And we thought long and hard about, should we go back to the voters and ask for their help to be able to address these issues? And frankly, we need the help. Our police officers need the help, our prosecutors need the help, and our system needs the help. So what we're asking for, I hope, is a modest increase. It's about $6 more per month for the average homeowner in Washington County. And what that does is it allows us to keep pace with the growing needs in our community so we can keep our community a safe place.
And if this levy does not pass, what exactly is going to be cut here? How is this going to impact your residents?
It would be traumatic. If this levy doesn't pass, we'll be missing about 16% of our public safety budget. So we will be missing not just the increase that we're asking for, but the entire piece of the pie, the entire amount the levy funds. So we'll see a decrease of the ability for police officers to respond, for our jail to be able to house individuals who are dangerous and need to be off the streets, to be able to respond to domestic violence and child abuse. And frankly, even prosecutors will see a decrease in all of those resources across the board. And the community would look very different than what we've become accustomed to here in Washington County if that were to happen.
You have told us previously that your office's current resources have not been able to keep pace with the population growth of Washington County. Washington County has 47 attorneys when you really should have 70 to 75. And as you said, that means Washington County prosecutors are carrying double the caseload as attorneys, say, in Multnomah County. So tell us how that negatively affects your residents and how this levy is going to help with that.
Well, there's only so much we can ask someone to do with the hours that we have in the day. And you're right, we have 47 attorneys now, and we need far more to be able to deal with the increase in crime that we're seeing. And we're seeing increases in two ways. We're seeing an increase with the volume of crime, the sheer numbers, but we're also seeing increase in the complexity of what's coming to us. So maybe 10 years ago, we weren't dealing with so many mental health issues and drug issues, addiction issues, or even the digital devices, the phones that we all carry in our purses and bags and wallets. All of those things require more time and more hours to address. So making sure we have enough prosecutors to do the work is imperative. And what this levy does is it helps us increase the prosecutors and the personnel across the board, but especially including in the DA's office, so we can catch up to where we need to be as a community.
And we're hearing from, a lot of our viewers that they just don't want to pay more in taxes. They think that you can pull this money from somewhere else. What's your response to that?
I don't want to pay more in taxes either. I really, really don't. I think everywhere you go right now, things are more expensive. I've got 3 kids and I can't take them out to eat without spending way more than we used to, or the grocery store, or the gas station, or the utility bills. So I totally get it and I don't disagree. At the same time, I can tell you this, I've seen it with my own eyes. We don't have the resources to keep public safety where this community deserves to have it. We need more funding to be able to do that. And I hate the fact that I have to say it, but it's a true statement. And so what I can tell the viewers and the community is the sheriff and I, along with the other public safety leaders, are 100% committed to using this funding responsibly and faithfully to make sure it goes in the direction it's allocated to go to keep our streets safe. Because I want my family to be safe, just like all of your viewers want their families to be safe. And that's our number one goal.
And there's nowhere else, there's no other pool of money that you guys can pull from.
It's sort of like squeezing a balloon. If you squeeze the balloon in one area, it'll pop out in another. So, certainly the county could make some decisions to cut certain fundings. They could cut this or cut that. But what we'll see is a decrease elsewhere. And those are difficult decisions to make. Sometimes funding streams are dedicated for only one purpose. So, for example, there's a lot of money right now in the area of homelessness and addressing shelters and all of that. But that money by law cannot be redirected necessarily to go to the DA's office. So I wish we could take the money from some of those other areas. I wish we could take the extra money that we hear about in the news that, Portland has in their preschool for all and all these things where you hear about waste and misuse. But unfortunately, money streams are allocated by law and we can't take it necessarily from anything that's out there. So I'm convinced that the levy itself is our only way moving forward to keep our communities safe and fully funded.
And you did, before I asked you that question, you mentioned how you guys are going to make sure that this money is being spent in the way it's supposed to be spent, but still hearing from viewers that they're skeptical about where all this money is going to go. Do you guys have something set up where you're going to be doing audits or notifying people about where exactly this money is doing and making sure you are accountable to that?
Yes. So annually, every year, the public safety funding that's used by the levy is tracked, and it's all in a transparent way. So any community member would be able to look and see in the county budget where that money is going. When money goes to a third party, so for example, part of the levy funding goes to fund the Family Justice Center of Washington County, which is a nonprofit that provides services for domestic violence and child abuse survivors. That money is audited by that third party, and there's oversight by the county. There's a county commissioner and myself, the DA, on the board of that nonprofit to provide that oversight. So we're doing all of the things that responsibly should be done to make sure that there's proper oversight over how the funding, how the money is allocated and the funding is spent. And I think also community members can see it with their own eyes. When they're out in the streets and they call the police and the police respond, they can know that's because we have a functional public safety system and a levy that helps make that happen. When the police investigate a case and it gets referred to the DA's office and we prosecute, that's because the money is going to good use. And if you look around us in other communities, it's not that way everywhere else, but it is here. And that's what the sheriff and I are committed to maintaining.
Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton, thank you so much for joining us on ARC PDX.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
And as we head to our break, we want to hear from all of you. So please point your camera at the QR code on your screen and vote on this question. Do you support the Washington County Public Safety Levy? Our answer options are yes, no, I can't afford to pay more, no, I don't think it's needed, and maybe I need more information. As you can see, we have, I think, still 0 votes at this point. So please, we'd love to hear what you think. We want your participation. So we're gonna keep posting this and checking in on it as our show goes on. And hopefully we'll find out what you guys are thinking about it. We're highlighting some of the key issues impacting public safety in the city of Tigard and in the larger community of Washington County as a whole. So let's start with Washington County's public safety levy. That will be on the November ballot in less than 2 weeks. This is a 19-cent increase per $1,000 of property value. And if it passes, the owner of a home with an assessed value of $348,600 would pay about $19 a month or $230 a year. It would continue for 5 years and it would raise $337 million. Here are some of the things that the levy will pay for: investigating and prosecuting crimes like theft, break-ins, and graffiti, enhancing prosecution of child abuse and pornography cases, expanded programs for victims and families harmed by domestic violence, mental health response teams, and funding for the county jail. So now I am very honored to be joined by Washington County Commissioner Jason Snider. Jason, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell us, you support this levy. What are the most critical parts of it for you that you want to see done?
You just covered a lot of them,
Yeah.
The summary that you provided, but from my perspective, the critical nature of this levy is that it really funds about 8 major parts of the public safety system, and it's a whole ecosystem. The whole thing has to work together to be effective, and that includes things that people don't think about as much or as often, particularly things like community corrections, which includes parole and probation. A lot of people think of that as more of a punitive type of service, but it is not. It is really about rehabilitating people, making sure that community members that have been either served prison sentences or received some sort of court adjudication are safe to be in the community and are being monitored to keep the public safe. But really it's about making sure that they have the tools and the systems to be successful. Juvenile services are the same but just in the juvenile space. That's a very different level of expertise, and it is much more effective to intervene early in a child that's maybe not making the best choices, and much less expensive, frankly, in the long run for the community to do that work early. So things like that, the special teams at the sheriff's office that benefit all the cities and all residents of Washington County are a big deal. The district attorney's office funding and being able to prosecute crimes, all of these things are supported through this levy.
Explain why this is especially needed right now. Is this like the new normal? Are residents expected to be voting on increase after increase after increase, like just to feel safe in their community?
Not necessarily increase after increase, but at times there will need to be increases. This levy's not been increased for quite some time, but the nature of the property tax reform measures that happened in the 1990s have meant that jurisdictions like Washington County and all the cities in the county as well are only allowed to raise funds through an operating levy every 5 years, and it then expires. So what you see here is our attempt to right size, given the changes in Washington County, but also the decreasing state funding that is coming for many of the programs. Community corrections, as an example, just had a very surprising decrease with very little notice. We ended up having to lay a number of staff members off in that department with like 4 or 5 days notice.
Wow.
Because of the legislature at the end of the session made a decision in late June. And that's just one example of where we have decreasing state funding for critical services. So some of it is that, some of it is that our costs increase at a rate that's more than 3%, and that's what the property tax limitations limit our increase to.
If this levy does not pass, what are you most worried about in the impacts to your residents?
I am concerned about, again, I described a moment ago the way that the public safety system is an ecosystem and that it really all has to work together. And as soon as you start having various parts to that not working, whether it's not space in the jail to lodge someone that's dangerous and really should not be released, to the ability to prosecute that individual effectively, or our specialty courts, which provide a very important service for veterans and folks that have first-time drug offenses and things like that, where we really want to focus on providing great service and rehabilitating them quickly. Though all of those things start to break down, and they all are part of a system.
Okay. You know, I want to talk about the jail, because you have been talking about the jail a lot, and I got some new numbers. Hillsborough is where the Washington County Jail is. It's the only jail for the county. More than 2,800 inmates have been released this year because there's not enough staff. There's not enough, the DA was saying there's enough beds, there's just not enough staff to bring in, to keep inmates in there. So how big of an issue has this been for the county?
This has been a huge issue, and I could tell you've been talking to the district attorney if you're quoting those numbers, but I would say the county commission is just as concerned about the forced releases and what that means for the community. That means people that really should be lodged in the jail are not. And that's a safety issue for the community, among other things. And it also just reflects, I think, poorly on our community with the lack of jail bed capacity for our size.
Mm-hmm. You know, we're hearing from viewers that, and this is really for any tax, any levy, anything coming out right now, they just cannot. They can't pay more. They don't want to pay more in taxes. Is there nowhere else that the county can pull money for public safety from? There's no other pool of money somewhere that you have to go to the voters? That
is the community's response and concern. You know, we're talking about a levy. You provided data at the beginning of this story about the amount of the levy. Mm-hmm. The reality is it is about $6 a month as an increase for the average household mm-hmm. that you were mentioning. And in that context, I think it's important to think about that. $6 a month is a lot different than the $19 or $20 that is the entire levy. So folks are already paying a significant portion of this. But I think the broader discussion, and this is really a discussion for local government throughout the state, is that we, as a state, don't have a lot of tools to fund local government. So we're using the tools that we have, and you know, the county is reevaluating whether there are some other options for either charging usage fees or doing other things that may be able to provide some services. But honestly, the public safety services, by and large, are funded by what's called the general fund, mm-hmm. which is the unrestricted part of the budget and mostly comes from property tax. And so that means that these really are the options to fund these kinds of services. I think at a much broader state level, we could be having a conversation about whether or not we want to fund public safety and general fund services a different way. Yeah. And we could and should probably be having that conversation, whether it's I will just say, as a state, it is troubling to me that we do not charge people that come visit our state like we all pay when we go visit Washington. We're not, we're all paying a sales tax every time we buy something in Washington, but nobody coming here to visit is paying a sales tax. And there are many, many examples of that where, we are choosing to just fund everything ourselves, but that costs our community members more in the long run. Okay, bigger conversations to be had. Washington County Commissioner Jason Snider, thank you so much for your insight. I appreciate it. You bet. Yeah. And as we head to break, we want to hear from all of you. What do you think? Put your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen, and please vote on our question. Do you support the Washington County Public Safety Levy?
Good, we've gotten some responses. That's great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Right now we have 67% of you saying yes. 37% of you say that you need more information to make your decision. We're still waiting for some of those votes to roll in. Please keep answering that question, and we're going to keep checking on that poll as our show goes on. One of the issues that we are diving deep into this morning is the City of Tigard's efforts to build a new police and public works facility. As we previously reported, the city says the current facilities are extremely outdated, and the new location is going to help first responders respond more quickly and effectively. This project is expected to cost $150 million. It's going to be on Southwest Wall Street near Hunsaker Road. The city is now asking voters to approve a bond package this coming May, which they say will cost the average homeowner about $9 to $15 more a month, depending on the life of the bond. And this is exciting. Tigard also has a new mayor. Yi-Kang was sworn in just last week, and he is joining us live here this morning. Yi, thank you so much for joining us. Happy to have you here.
Good morning.
Actually, thanks you for having us in your home, because this is where you rule.
Yeah, good morning, Wesley, and thank you for having me, and welcome to Tigard.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, I think this is incredible. Your appointment is historic. You are Tigard's first Asian mayor, first immigrant mayor, and first openly gay mayor. How does it feel to already have made history, and you just got sworn in last week?
Oh, it's such an honor. Truly, my husband Abraham and I have called Tigard home for over 20 years, and I truly care deeply about this community. And as you said, this is a historic first for Tigard, and I only been on the job for 2 weeks, but I already get so many words of encouragement from my neighbors, from business owner, from community member, and that's just remind me of why I love Tigard so much, right? Yeah. It's just the people who are so caring and welcoming, and so that's just what makes Tigard so special. That's so thank you.
That's why you took on a completely second full-time job, and
exactly.
I'm sure everybody thanks you for that. Help us get to know you a little bit. What goals do you have for your first term as mayor?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So right now, I'm really focusing on stability, transparency, and just leading Tigard forward with the goal, and, we care about, like many cities around us, Tigard is facing a lot of similar issues like affordable housing, houselessness, growth, and just trying to maintain their current service level that like public safety with limited budget we have. So we are moving forward with that. And when you talk about our public safety and police new facility, that's just one of the major projects that we are focusing on.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, what are you most proud of accomplishing when you were on city council? And is there anything from that you're going to continue on, keep working on as mayor?
Yeah, so when I first got on council, the thing I heard over and over again is how out there our council have been, and I've been told that I'm everywhere, and that's the kind of leadership style that I really value. Just be present and consistently engage with our community member, and that's how we build trust, and that's how me and this council continue to operate. We plan to be out there with our community member, and we encourage them to give us feedback, and we'll meet where they are. So it's just a good way for us to gauge how we can better serve them every day.
And we have to address the elephant in the room, because the previous mayor did resign after revelations of toxicity in City Hall. Multiple former employees said that there was some bullying, harassment, and retaliation. It actually led to the departure of at least 7 high-level city employees. So how do you feel now taking over after that? And what are you going to do to kind of maybe fix the culture?
Yeah, so with any transition, it can be difficult, right? But frankly, I'm focusing on moving forward because we have so many important work that we still need to do, including the new facility for the City of Tigard and for the people of Tigard to make sure that this is still a safe and welcoming place for everybody. So for me and this council, we are really focusing on having a really respectful, professional, and transparent City Hall, because when we when we have trust in City Hall, we will have trust in our community. So within the City Council, we are committed to working together as a team and holding each other accountable. We totally understand that we will not agree on every issue, but that's the nature of democracy, which is good. Yeah. But we all understand that we all care deeply about this community. As you say, that's why we take on this second gig, right? In addition to our job. And for our wonderful city staff, we are really focused on a really professional and healthy work environment, right? So we really want to make sure that our wonderful city staff really feel supported and just so they are empowered and respected, so they're empowered to do their best job they can for the people of Tigard. And again, for our community member, please, I encourage everybody to come to us and we'll meet them where they are. So they will voice their feedback so we know how to serve them better. So that's how I plan to restore stability and trust in our community.
Great. Okay, let's talk about this bond that's going to be on the ballot in May to build a new police and public safety or police and public works facility.
Yes.
Help us understand how the facility is now, why you need this bond so badly.
Yeah, so I heard from a community member over and over again and from our business community that public safety is a top priority for them, if not the most important priority for them. So this bond is really, this bond and this project is really a reflection of their priority. So right now, as you mentioned, our public work and police facility, they are over 40 years old. So while they may look okay outside, they are really outdated and they no longer meet the need of our first responder. So, especially during severe weather storm or earthquake, I'm afraid that they may not be there, standing when we need them the most. So this project is really about protecting our first responder who will protect us at a time of a need. And this is really to ensure that we have the next generation of public safety measure in place. So for our kids and grandkids, so they will have so can continue to have a safe community for us.
Yeah. And then the wider, Washington County has the public safety levy that's going to be on the ballot in a couple weeks. Tell me about what you think about this, why you were hoping the voters approved this levy for Washington County.
Yeah, I totally support it. And as you have already heard from our DA Barton and our County Commissioner Snider, this is really important for our community because our police department, along with all the regional police partners, they really work closely with our Washington County, including the DA and the sheriff, on a variety of important projects. And this is also, again, about keeping our community safe. So that's why I strongly support this levy.
How confident do you feel that maybe both of those will pass? Are you confident?
Well, with any vote, we are in a tough time economically, and with the federal shutdown, a lot of our neighbors and community members are facing challenges. So I'm confident that since this is a high priority for a community member, they will make the decision to invest in our safety. But you never know. You never know. So yeah, but I'm hopeful.
Okay, great. Yi-Kang, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was great to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for what's next for Tigard, so thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to ARC on the Road. We are in Tigard this morning. We're highlighting the issues impacting public safety, and that includes Washington County's public safety levy, which will be on the November ballot. It is a 19-cent increase per $1,000 of property value. So if this passes, the owner of a home with an assessed value of $348,600 would pay about $19 a month or $230 a year. Here are some of the things that this levy will pay for: investigating and prosecuting crimes like theft, break-ins, and graffiti, enhancing prosecution of child abuse and pornography cases, expanded programs for victims and families harmed by domestic violence, mental health response teams, and funding for the county jail. Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton was not able to join us live for our show today, but I was able to speak with him yesterday over Zoom. So here's part of that conversation. I'm joined by Kevin Barton, Washington County District Attorney now. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so from your perspective, what are the most critical parts of this levy?
Well, the levy is something that we've had in Washington County for 25 years now. So the idea of a levy is nothing new. But every 5 years, we need to go back to the voters and make sure that they approve the way we're spending this money. This year, we're increasing the levy amount to let us address the growing challenges that we have in our community. And it's going to address some really important things. So, for example, quality of life crimes, the day-to-day crimes that impact the most people, things like theft and car break-ins and car theft and vandalism, child abuse crimes, addressing the growing nature of those crimes that we're seeing here in our community, supporting domestic violence victims, addressing mental health issues that we see in our community. Those are the really important things the levy will help us do so we can make sure that we keep our Washington County community a safe place for people to live and work.
And you say the levy is nothing new, but there is an increase. Should residents just be expected to approve increases year after year after year? Why is this needed now so badly, just to keep their community safe?
I think any good resident should question why is there an increase? And if you look around, and I question those things myself, I'm a resident, I pay the very same taxes. If you look around and you see what's happening in our community, I think we would all agree that we're seeing an increase in the challenges around us, an increase in homelessness, an increase in drug addiction, an increase in mental health issues. If you watch the news at night, you see this every single night. We're struggling in our public safety system to address the impact of those increases. And we thought long and hard about, should we go back to the voters and ask for their help to be able to address these issues? And frankly, we need the help. Our police officers need the help, our prosecutors need the help, and our system needs the help. So what we're asking for, I hope, is a modest increase. It's about $6 more per month for the average homeowner in Washington County. And what that does is it allows us to keep pace with the growing needs in our community so we can keep our community a safe place.
And if this levy does not pass, what exactly is going to be cut here? How is this going to impact your residents?
It would be traumatic. If this levy doesn't pass, we'll be missing about 16% of our public safety budget. So we will be missing not just the increase that we're asking for, but the entire piece of the pie, the entire amount of levy funds. So we'll see a decrease of the ability for police officers to respond, for our jail to be able to house individuals who are dangerous and need to be off the streets, to be able to respond to domestic violence and child abuse. And frankly, even prosecutors will see a decrease in all of those resources across the board. And the community would look very different than what we've become accustomed to here in Washington County if that were to happen.
You have told us previously that your office's current resources have not been able to keep pace with the population growth of Washington County. Washington County has 47 attorneys when you really should have 70 to 75. And as you said, that means Washington County prosecutors are carrying double the caseload as attorneys, say, in Multnomah County. So tell us how that negatively affects your residents and how this levy is going to help with that.
Well, there's only so much we can ask someone to do with the hours that we have in the day. And you're right, we have 47 attorneys now, and we need far more to be able to deal with the increase in crime that we're seeing. And we're seeing increases in two ways. We're seeing an increase with the volume of crime, the sheer numbers, but we're also seeing increase in the complexity of what's coming to us. So maybe 10 years ago, we weren't dealing with so many mental health issues and drug issues, addiction issues, or even the digital devices, the phones that we all carry in our purses and bags and wallets. All of those things require more time and more hours to address. So making sure we have enough prosecutors to do the work is imperative. And what this levy does is it helps us increase the prosecutors and the personnel across the board, but especially including in the DA's office, so we can catch up to where we need to be as a community.
Now, that was just part of our conversation with District Attorney Kevin Barton. You will be able to find that full interview on our website, katu.com, and on our YouTube page. And in about just 30 minutes, we're going to bring on the Washington County Sheriff to get her perspective on this levy as well. All right, let's check in on that poll on whether everybody supports this public safety levy or not. Please point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen and weigh in. Right now, these results have changed a little bit. 38% of you say yes, you support it. 43% of you say no, I can't afford to pay more. 13% of you say no, I don't think it's needed, and 6% of you say maybe, I need more information. Now, one of the issues that we're diving deep into this morning is the City of Tigard's efforts to build a new police and public works facility. As we've been reporting previously, the city says that the current facilities are extremely outdated, and this new location will help first responders respond more quickly and effectively. This project is expected to cost $150 million. It's going to be on Southwest Wall Street near Hunsaker Road. The city is now asking voters to approve a bond package this coming May, which they say will cost the average homeowner about $9 to $15 more a month, depending on the life of the bond. So to tell us a lot more about this bond and about these facilities, we've got Police Chief Jamie McDonald here. Thank you so much, Police Chief, for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Or I guess you have us in your house, so thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Please give us an idea. Explain to us what these facilities are like now and why it's so important for them to now be, rebuilt or redone.
Yeah, the important thing is these were built over 40 years ago, and really the challenge we have now is the city has grown so much, and the department, we've grown with the city. So as you can imagine, a growing family outgrows their home, may need to upsize, and that's really where we're at now. Not to mention the fact the technology that we use today is very different than it was in, say, the 1980s when the facility was built. So we've outgrown the facility, the technology that we use, and the way we support it is totally out of date. And so those are some of the things that just make it inefficient for us to be able to operate. And really, we have problems with roof leaks and things like that. Some of our records folks will have to maybe move from one desk to another so we can put a bucket to catch water during heavy rainstorms, which is not ideal. So things like that are really driving the need for a new facility.
Do you have any anecdotes or stories of times where the way the facilities are now has impacted the work that your office has been able to do?
Sure. I mean, we have different offices all across the city, so we don't have everybody in the police department in our building. We have some of our detectives in the back of one of the other City Hall buildings in what used to be a printer closet. So back in the day, we used big plotter printers for things in community development. Well, they quit using those for a lot of the work they do. And we requisitioned that office to use for some of our detectives because we didn't have space to put them in anywhere else in the police building. So that's a simple one, but something that we just completely outgrew.
Is there like the worst case scenario, biggest fear you have right now if the bond does not pass and the facilities stay the way they are?
Well, I mean, really, the thing that probably scares me the most about our current setup is we're unable to store out all of our evidence on site. So we actually lease space that is not on the property of the city. So we store evidence in places that are not around us. It's not convenient, but more importantly, it isn't really that safe to store it in an off-site location. So best practice is that you have the ability to store it on site. And if people ask me what keeps me awake at night, that's what I tell them. I'm like, not having the evidence in a place that is on our property, it isn't as secure. So that's not an ideal situation.
And just quickly, I know you kind of already explained it before, but what exactly will this new facility have and look like and be like that will really help solve these problems?
Sure. Well, the space efficiencies are one, and that'll make a huge difference for us is being able to have everybody in one facility. And it's not just the police department, it's Public Works as well. So Public Works has the same issue where they're spread out across multiple sites all across the city. This will bring that all back together so they have that efficiency. They don't even have, Public Works doesn't even have a space where their teams can be inside to do their morning briefings, like their safety briefing before they go off to do work. They're doing it outside typically. So you can imagine on a stormy January day, they're kind of standing under a canopy or under an awning out back of their building to do their morning meeting, which is not ideal. So trying to come up with those types of efficiencies to bring everything in-house under one roof will really make us be able to operate better. And the honest part about that is police and Public Works work really closely together. Let's think about a natural disaster, an ice storm like we had a few years ago, that big ice storm that we had. it was police and public works out doing that stuff together. So co-locating us really makes a lot of sense in our minds. We already work really closely together on a lot of things. So having our facility in the same place just makes sense to us.
You know, since 2020, there's been kind of a re-examining of policing in America. So what's your response to people who say, yes, I'm concerned about public safety. I understand the issues you're going through, but shouldn't we be spending our money somewhere else to keep us safe? Is this really where we should be putting this money to keep us safe?
Sure, and my response to that is we are focusing on spending money on the operations part of it, right? The public facing piece of it. So this community has already stepped up and said, yes, we want to do that part. They did it with supporting us with a public safety levy specific to Tigard in 2020. We renewed it again in 2024. So we're doing those types of things. This just helps us to improve that efficiency so that we can be more efficient and effective in our response to the community. So we're doing that piece of focusing on what matters most to this community, to Tigard, and we're really focused on trying to identify, okay, what matters to this community and how can we be most effective in addressing those concerns when we're out doing that operational piece. The men and women that you see driving around in police cars every day, they're the ones that matter the most in trying to deliver that service to this community. And so that's what we're most focused on. So a new facility will help to support that operation and help us to be more effective and more efficient in how we do it so we can support the men and women that are out there really serving this community.
We only have about 30 seconds
Sure.
left. I want to ask you about the Washington County Public Safety Levy. So from your perspective, I'm assuming you're in support of this levy.
I am.
What will it do for your department?
Well, it continues to support a lot of the operations that we do. I mean, when you think about that levy, it's supporting the jail, community corrections, like mental health response team, those types of things that really matter to Tigard as well. So it isn't just supporting deputies to go out and patrol things outside of Tigard. It really supports a lot of the things within Tigard. It supports the district attorney's office to help us prosecute those cases when we take somebody to jail, for example. So there's a wide variety of things that it supports the City of Tigard doing. So it is an important piece of the whole public safety puzzle in the City of Tigard and Washington County.
Yeah, definitely. Police Chief Jamie McDonald, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're most
Appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to ARC PDX. We are here on the road in Tigard, continuing our deep dive into public safety here. And that includes the public safety levy that is on the November ballot here in Washington County. So joining us now is Washington County Sheriff Caprice Massey. Sheriff, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you for having me.
So can you just help people understand why this levy is so badly needed right now? Is this like a new normal we have to get used to of approving increase after increase after increase just to, you know, stay safe in our communities?
Yeah, I really appreciate your question. I will say that unfortunately, cost of providing services is continuing to grow up, and I, like every other Washington County resident, can feel fatigued in the increases. And this public safety levy has actually been in effect for 25 years. And so we have not increased every single time, but in this season, we do really want to make sure that we elevate the services that we were providing to our community and not just stay status quo, because the people that are asking for our help now are suffering from different issues than they were, say, 25 years ago when this levy was first brought into place.
And if this levy does not pass, what exactly will be cut? How is this going to endanger your residents if it doesn't pass?
Well, this levy is 16% of our public safety ecosystem here in Washington County between the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, community corrections, and our juvenile systems, also our family peace center. And so for the sheriff's office specifically, we have over 100 positions tied to this levy. And so if this levy does not pass, we will have to look at how we reimagine public safety from the sheriff's office perspective, because we would be looking at a decrease of over 100 positions just for the Washington County Sheriff's Office. And that would impact things like our critical mental health response team, which pairs a deputy sheriff and a master's level clinician in the vehicle to respond to those critical behavioral health calls. We would also have to look at decreasing our jail capacity. We would look at decreasing some of those extra services that the Washington County Sheriff's Office provides to the members of our community.
And really on that same vein of positions and staffing, this spring, Washington County faced a budget deficit of $20 million. And while the most significant cuts went to street improvement and library services, the next largest cuts were to public safety, like to your office, the sheriff's office, and to the district attorney. In fact, your office had to slim down by $4 million, impacting about 24 positions. How did those cuts already affect your department? And is this levy meant to make up for some of those cuts?
It is. I will say resoundingly, it is going to give us an opportunity to make up some of those cuts. But we lost 10 deputies positions in patrol and another 10 in the jail. And during a season when we also added another courtroom, and court security is one of those critical functions that the sheriff is required to provide per statute. And so we have continued to get more courtrooms and more judges, but no more court security staff to provide that critical safety in the courtroom to make sure that our court processes are safe, secure, and that our adults in custody are able to get their trial. And so we will be adding those positions back in this levy, and then we will be elevating services as well. We can't go out and ask for an increase in our public safety levy if we are not willing to or prepared to provide an elevated level of service to our community as well. And we have some really exciting things earmarked for that.
And Hillsborough has Washington County's only jail. I just checked in with your office this week and found out that so far this year, more than 2,800 inmates have had to been released because of staffing issues. How big of an issue is that for your community, and how will this public safety help you out there?
Well, one thing that's quite exciting actually is that our hiring and recruitment efforts have made the biggest impact in our jail division, and we are more closely prepared to be fully staffed in the next year or so than ever before. And one of the main reasons that we are having to release people into our community, and I really want our community to know that we do make sure that we are releasing the lowest risk adults in custody out into our community when we have to because of our bed usage. But we are currently undergoing getting a new roof, an entire HVAC system, fire suppression systems, hot and cold water piping throughout our entire jail and our law enforcement center in Hillsborough. And so because of that, in order to accommodate that workflow, we're having to keep 2 housing units closed while they're fixing the roof and everything above those housing units. And then we move people over to those housing units, and they're moving the progress all the way down the jail.
And we have about 30 seconds left, but we're hearing from some of our viewers, and this is true for taxes and levies all over the place, but they just can't pay anymore. They do not want to pay any more in taxes. They think that you can pull this money from somewhere else. Is there anywhere else that you can get this money besides from the voters?
I wish there was. Currently, we are not even able to access some of the federal funding and grants and the state funding that we have been able to rely on for decades. And so because of that, we really are at our last ditch effort to make sure that we do not have to decrease or impact negatively the livability of our incredible county.
Sheriff Caprice Massey, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on ARC PDX.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome Welcome back, everybody. We are wrapping up our time here in Tigard. We're focusing on some key issues that will have a big impact on public safety here and the larger community of Washington County. That includes the public safety levy on the November ballot and the effort to build Tigard's new police and public works facility on the May ballot. We talked with city and county leaders, including Tigard's mayor and police chief, as well as Washington County's district attorney and sheriff. And if you want to see all of our conversations in full, you will be able to watch those on our Katu News YouTube page. We're going to post the entire show there very soon. And let's check in one more time on our poll on your support or not support for the public safety levy. Point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen. We're still wanting you to weigh in on this, but right now, 38% of you say yes, you'd vote for it. 47% of you say no, I can't afford to pay more. 10% of you say no, I don't think it's needed, and 5% of you say maybe I need more information. What's making me feel good about that, the people who need more information, that number has dropped because I think you've learned a lot from our show today, and that makes me happy. So thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We hope this is valuable for you. We love doing it. Please keep joining us here. We go on the road every Friday, and join us for our regular shows, ARC in the studio, Monday through Thursday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Try to stay dry out there.